Welcome, everybody, to a new episode of Tradomics titled Six Swiss Stocks. As Tradomics is based in Switzerland, we deemed important also to analyze some stocks or the main stocks of the Swiss Stocks Exchange. So, therefore, here we go. My name is Dario, and if you have not subscribed to our channel, please do so in order to be updated regarding the latest videos and the video analysis that we're going to issue on a regular basis, so you can get notified and get the awareness of how long or for how long the price can keep falling or keep going up. As you always, we're going to use the T-cycle analysis. And if you want to know more about our methodology, you can click on the pop-up banner menu on the right-hand side. So we're going to start with Novartis. It's one of the biggest pharmaceutical companies in the world. And here it's the cycle situation. So first of all, we have to analyze it from this top occurred on the Friday 29th September 2023. This top was basically the beginning of the yearly T plus 5 upward cycle. The T plus 5 is 1 year cycle, which has a duration encompassed between 190 and 338 days. And since the beginning of this T plus 5 upward cycle, um, which was made on the 29th of September 2023, we have reached a total duration of 196 days with this stop, which occurred on the 12th of July 2024. What does it mean? So it means that thanks to this upward yearly cycle, we have the minimum duration in which a new T plus 5 yearly upward cycle can start. And of course, at the beginning of every upward cycle, the first part of the cycle is defined by the downtrend. This downtrend can keep going based on the different type of the cycle. So for a T plus 5, the downtrend, the minimum downtrend in which the number of candles are lower compared to the top from which the cycle started is 3 months. So basically 2 degrees less. So if this will be the new T plus 5, we cannot go back to the top before at least 48 bars. Therefore, it means that we cannot reach back the price from of the absolute top before the 19th of September 2024 at least. So we cannot go back to 100 Swiss francs before September. Now, is this the beginning of the T plus 5? We don't know it yet. We don't know it yet because we need to wait the next weeks to understand where the future direction of the price will go. So first of all, here we have a situation in which the this top was broken with this candle. Therefore, here we had that the price kept the rally alive from the 23rd of April 2024. But now here we have the minimum duration of this T plus 5. Therefore, we need to be really careful that from this top, we might have the possibility to have a T plus 5. If not, then we will have a new T plus 3 or T plus 4, and therefore the price will go back to the top. So in this case, we have had a first T plus 3 months upward cycle, a second T plus 3 months upward cycle, a third, uh, sorry, a first a further T plus 3 upward cycle, and now either we have another T plus 3, but which means that we have to go back to the top before 89 bars, or before or in a time between 48 and 89 bars, or we will start seeing a retracement that will uh, that will cause the downtrend of the price again for some other weeks. How can we understand in which of the two situations we are? Well, basically, the first level of price that it's an alarm is here at 92 Swiss francs point 76. So if in the next days the price will break this low and also subsequently also this one, which is set up at 90 Swiss francs 36, we will have the evidence that from here there will be the development not just of a T plus 3 but even a T plus 5. So basically this, or let's put better an arrow, so this price level, it's basically the first support, the critical support or the critical swing in which um, we might have the possibility of a beginning of a T plus 5 if broken. And the second one is here at, as said before, 90 Swiss francs. Now, over the short term, what can we say? Of course, when we talk about the upward cycle, we have also to study the other flip of the coin of the downward cycle. So from this low, for example, we have had the beginning of a nearly downward cycle, and the downward cycle are basically connecting lows with other lows. And in this case, there was a positive a T plus 4 6-month cycle of a duration 123 days, which is basically encompassed between 94 to 168 days. Now we are on the second T plus 4, so the second downward 6-month cycle, which has been divided in the first T plus 2, and now we are about to close the second T plus 2. The T plus 2 or monthly cycle can last between 24 to 44 days. Therefore, if we gauge the total duration, we have now a situation in which we have had 33 days of this T plus 2. Therefore, we have reached already a median duration. This first T plus 2 and the second T plus 2 are basically defining a T plus 3. So this T plus 3, which is ongoing, has reached a total duration of 73 bars out of 89, which means that for its development, we can also keep this shape and basically have another violation or breaks of this wings and eventually this wing until 89 bars, which means that we can see the price getting into the retracement phase until at most the 27th of August 2024. But through the Matryoshka effect, if we want to focus a little bit more on the short term, we have also to frame the chart with weekly cycles. So from this low, we have had a weekly cycle of this shape. This low broke the swing here, so it's already negative. But now the duration has reached 10 days. So basically, from tomorrow, or yes, from tomorrow we will have 10 possibilities to go up and one possibility to go down, because the total duration of a weekly cycle is encompassed between 6 to 11 days. So given that now we are at 10 days, tomorrow we will see, with the exception of Bayer tongues, a push back to the upside. So statistically speaking, tomorrow there will be one possibility to go down and the rest to go up. We can even have another day, so tomorrow, to go down and to go lower this minimum that was signed today at 93 Swiss francs, but we will see a rebound back to the upside. This bounce back to the upside can lead to the beginning of a new weekly cycle, but given that we have already all the condition to close the T plus 2 and eventually also the T plus 3, we will have to monitor the strengths of this bounce, because if this bounce will be strong and will go over already this swing, then here we might have the possibility to have a T plus 3 rather than a T plus 5. Therefore, we can continue going back to the tops and even beyond. Otherwise, if this bounce will not be strong enough, then we will have a condition in which potentially another cycle will begin, and we will have to closely monitor the strengths to define which kind of grade the cycle will have, and potentially go back also to its minimum or to its lows. Why that? Because we have also to start closing this yearly cycle. And we have reached now a total duration of 195 days. So we have already the minimum duration. And if they want, if this will be a T plus 5, so the push of the price toward the downsides will allow also to close as the other flip of the coin, the yearly downward cycle. So this is the situation as for today. So let's expect into a couple of days a bounce back to the upside, and let's also monitor the strengths in which let's monitor the strengths of this bounce by having some reference of the swings here, and let's also calculate how long, how many candles we will have over this minimum if the new cycle will start from here. So let's move to the next stop, which is Roche. Regarding Roche, we issued an analysis some weeks ago where we were flagging the possibility to have a short-term reversal. And this is exactly what happened. So I intentionally left the arrows as for the last analysis, and it was definitely correct. So we were saying that due to the fact that we were about to close a nearly T plus 5, we would have had a bounce back to the upside in order to close this yearly T plus 5 upward cycle. And now, if we gauge the total duration, we have reached 300 days. 298 days. So basically on Roche, there are few possibilities to keep going up and a lot of possibilities to go down. So if you want to have the statistical ratio we have, given that we have 298 days with the stop, but if we gauge also the duration until today, we have 304 days, then we have less than, so around 34 possibilities to keep going up, and the rest of the possibilities, 300, um, 304 days to go down. So less than 10% or around 10% to keep to go back to the top, so the absolute tops that are at 312 Swiss francs, and all the rest to go down. So basically here the situation looks quite straightforward. So the total duration of this T plus 4 has been 142 days, and the duration of this upward cycle has been of 64 days. So here there was also the possibility to have the T plus 3 from this stop. Now we can basically update the chart. So here we had the T plus 3 that started here. So basically here we have to update the chart as for the last analysis. Here we have add a T+2 upward cycle. From desktop, we have add a T+3. And if you also gauge the last upward cycle, we have had a total duration of 23 days. So basically another T+1 hybrid cycle, because 23 days is a T+1H. So we can update T+1H upward cycle. And now here we have concretely the possibility to have the beginning of a T+5. As for Novartis, also Roche is more clear about the situation. So we might have a retracement that that can take 2 or 3 months before eventually going back to the tops. And this pushback to the downsides will allow also to eventually close this T+5 downward cycle, or in this case a T+4, because we have 120 bars. So here we have let's clean a little bit the chart as our analysis was correct. So now we don't need the arrows anymore. And given that the situation of the upward cycle is pretty clear, let's have also a look at the downward cycle. So the first 3-month cycles has been positive. From this low to this low, we have had 42 days, so we can put a new T+2 here. And now with this T+2, we have reached a total duration of 22 days. So what is happening basically is that this T+2 will seek further lows in order to close it at least at 24 bars, if not 30, if not 44. This closing of the T+2 will allow also the closing of the T+3, because now the T+3 is 3-month cycle has reached a total duration of 64 days. But at the same time, we will start closing the T+4. And if we want to start the closing of the T+4, we need a sub-cycle of 3 degrees less that is negative, which means that we need a T+1 that needs to be negative in order to close properly the T+4. Therefore, we might forecast that the next weeks or next 2 weeks will be to the downside. Because here we can start the T+5 upward cycle, and we have not less than 10% possibility to return back on the tops. And here, because we have to close downward cycles that are T+3 and T+4. So really be careful now with Roche over the midterm, because the price can retrace to key levels that are at first target 279 Swiss francs, 269 Swiss francs, and eventually 259 Swiss francs. Okay, so that's the situation on Roche as of today. Let's move to the next one. On UBS, the situation is really delicate. So when we talk about the downward cycle here with this T+5, we have had the first T+3 3 months positive downward cycle, the second T+3 positive downward cycle, and here we have had the third one. If we gauge the total duration and we do the right calculation, we have 223 days, and here with this closing, we have had also the necessary days to close a T+5, because in order to close a T+5, we need a subcycle of 3 degrees less that is negative. In this case, if we gauge the total duration, we have had more than 42 days. So definitely a T plus 2 in terms of time, which is between 24 and 44 days, that has been negative because this low was lower compared to the low from which it started. And here we have the sufficient and necessary condition to begin a new T plus 5. Now, having said that, with this candle, we broke up this swing or the beginning of this T plus 5. And if here we have a new T plus 5, and given that with this candle we have gone lower to this point, and this happened after only 123 days, it means that for the until the minimum duration of this T plus 5, the price will still go further down. So the first option, and then I will explain why I'm talking about option, is that we can further go into a downtrend until at least the 6th of November 2024. At least, because the median duration of a T plus 5 is around 250 days. And therefore, the price can keep falling up to a median duration of 250, which will be at the beginning of February, or even stretched until the maximum duration 338 days. The downtrend in that case we will go until April or May 2025. So this is really something to bear in mind. This is the first option, which is the worst case scenario. Now let's have the second possibility. The second possibility is the following. If we gauge the total duration from this T plus 5 or this low, we have now a duration of 345 days, which is basically more than the maximum duration, 338 days. Therefore, either we have a T plus 5 that began here, or we have a Bayer tongue, which is basically an extra time that can occur between two cycles of wider cycles, and this Bayer tongue has to be 3 degrees less in between. So basically, between a T plus 5 and another T plus 5, there might be a T plus 2, 3 degrees less cycle that can connect the first T plus 5 and the second T plus 5. This is basically an extra time, which is called Bayer tongue, or also you can check in the literature what a Bayer tongue is, or go back to our video introduction to the T cycle analysis. And this Bayer tongue will be this T plus 2, and this T plus 2 has now a total duration of 26 days. Now we're going to have the earnings that will be released on the 14th of August. And if we stretch this T plus 2 until the earnings, we will have 34 days. So basically now we don't have really an indication whether the earnings will be already positive or negative from a price perspective. Because if we are in the situation where there is a Bayer tongue, then the earnings will be a triggering point to start eventually a T plus 5 after this Bayer tongue. And this will be encompassed between the first cycle and the second cycle, yearly cycle. Otherwise, if after the earnings we will have the price keep falling, then we will have this situation in which the T plus 5 is already negative. Therefore, the price will keep falling through the downtrend. Another interesting thing that we have to highlight here is the fact that the T plus 5 was begun before the T plus 5 of Roche and Novartis, which means that the financial stocks here on the Swiss stock exchange are basically ahead from a time perspective compared to the pharmaceutical ones, because here the T plus 5 was already was started in June, and on Roche and Novartis we have now the possibility to start the T plus 5 in July. So here we have we have a month in advance. Is that interesting? Think so. So when we say always, yeah, but the index, the Swiss stock index or the US stock index started falling and we haven't seen yet this fall onto the stocks, or if the stocks are basically falling before the index, what is going to happen? So here with this technique, we can actually measure this thing. And we can also compare the different industries with the different companies listed on the same index. So basically here UBS started the yearly downward cycle before, and given that they have started before, now we have a total duration of uh, 45 days. So we are leading into a duration of a T plus 3. The duration of a T plus 3 means that by the end of this T plus 3, which still can last between 48 to 89 days, we will have to basically have a nook back to the upside before starting a new one. So here the situation is delicate. We have two possibilities. The earnings release will trigger potentially a move either to the upside or to the downside. We are about to close also from duration perspective at T plus 2. So, and here we have an oversold situation. This means that if we also have here the weekly upward cycle, it means that we have now a total duration of 6 days. So we have already the minimum duration to close this weekly cycle. So basically we have from tomorrow, we have 7 possibilities to go up, and 4 possibilities to go down. Okay, so still here we have to see, because we don't have a huge statistic in favor of the bounce back to the upside or keep falling to the downside. So be now really careful, even because we have broken this moving average 200 period harshly with this red candle. So bear in mind all the 2 options that we have described here, and of course keep an eye peeled on the earnings that are gonna happen are gonna be released on the 14th of August 2024. Okay, so let's now move to the next one. On Nestle, we have a similar situation as for UBS. If we are counting the yearly downward cycles, we have had T plus 5 from the 8th of March 2022 until the 1st of March 2023. And regarding the upward yearly cycle, we have had the first one, which is a multi-year T plus 7, so between 3 and 5 years cycle, upward cycle, from the 28th of April 2022 until the desktop, which is the top of 25 of April 2023. The first yearly upward cycle has had 250 days, and the downward corresponding yearly cycle has had 252 days. Now, the thing is that if we count here as the beginning of the downward yearly cycle on the 7th March 2023, and we stretch or we gauge time until today, we have 354 bars, which is basically out of the maximum standard duration of the yearly cycle, which is 338 days. Now, the possibility is that either from this low we have a Bayer tongue, so basically an extra time that is connecting the first T plus 5 and another T plus 5 downward yearly cycle. Or we have even more Bayer tongue, which is um, something like T+4 cycle, which is connecting a T+7 cycle, downward cycle, and another T+7 cycle. Because if we zoom out, we have had first yearly downward cycle, second yearly downward cycle, third yearly downward cycle, Bayer tongue potentially, and the beginning of another T+7. Or here we have already a T+5. And if we have already a T+5, which lasted 247 days, with this candle of Friday, 26th of July, the price is basically due to continue to the downside. So here we need to be really careful, because we have potentially evidence that this is a T+5, like in UBS, and we have had this break after 103 bars, 102 bars. So basically, we can further extend the downtrend until a minimum duration of 190 days, which would be basically end of November, or a median duration until end of February, or even more. The reading of the upward cycle is more straightforward. Here in this case, we have had a T+5 upward cycle divided in the first T+4 6 months upward cycle and the second one. And now we are basically developing the new T+5 upward cycle that is pushing the price further down with the break of this critical swing. And now we have to see whether if this is a Bayer tongue, or if this is a Bayer tongue, then once the time will be running out, we need to have a strong pushback to the upside. Otherwise, we are basically in the worst case scenario, whether the T+5 will basically continue to further go down, and the price will follow as a consequence. In this case, we're going to have the first target price at 186, 80, 85 Swiss francs, and then we have to monitor whether there will be new support areas. Um, Over the short term, how can we project and forecast the time elapsed, and how much time is remaining for a potential bounce back to the upside? So considering this as a T+2 Bayer tongue, we have reached 23 bars. So basically, we are not yet in the minimum duration of 24 bars. So if we're gonna have extreme low, we can have it until 48 44 days until the 2nd of September. So we might expect a low until within the 2nd of September, and then either we will have a strong pushback to the upside, and strong pushback to the upside means that we have to first break this area price level at 95 Swiss francs. Otherwise, will be a bounce of the dead cat, and then further back down again to continue the yearly downward cycle, which is already binded to the in the negative shape. So really be careful whether it's a Bayer tongue, or a wider Bayer tongue, or whether we have the worst case scenario. So let's move. It's now the turn of Swiss Life. So with Swiss Life has a similar setup as of UBS. Here the situation is a little bit easier to analyze because from desktop we have at the beginning of the upward T plus 5 yearly cycle. And if we gauge the total time until the maximum top that was done on the 11th of July 2024, we have had 308 bars. So basically here we have completed in terms of time and in terms of swing T plus 5, and now here there is a really high possibility to have a new T plus 5. High possibility because we have a 90% of possibility that from here there will be a push back until this area, so to moving average 200 period, because we have just um, 10% of possibility to return back to the stop, as we have 308 days from this stop out of 338. So now what we can expect is to have a further retracement. And when we also define the downward yearly cycle, from the low of the 27th September 2022, we have had the first positive yearly downward cycle, and now we are on the second one. So this second T plus 5 yearly downward cycle has reached a total duration of 183 bars, which is not even the minimum for its completion. So the second T plus 5 divided in the first T plus 4, then we are in the second T plus 4. This second T plus 4 has been segmented in the first T plus 2 and the second T plus 2. Regarding the second T plus 2 of this second T plus 4 of this second T plus 5, we have reached a total duration of 35 bars. So basically the price before registering or before having bounce back to the upside can also extend its rally to the downside until 44 bars, which means that we can further go down until the 15th of August 2024 before having a relevant bounce back to the upside. The closing of this second T plus 2 can also lead to the close of the T plus 3, because this would be the T plus 3, and we have reached a duration of 73 bars. So if we want to extend also the T plus 3 until its maximum duration, then we can expect retracement until 27th of August 2024. So this month is a little bit at risk because we can proceed extending the retracement. One of the key level would be moving average 200 period, and then subsequently this critical swing in which the T plus 4 was developed or was formed on the 18th of April 2024 with the key price level at 569 Swiss francs. So also here we have to be really careful now to open a long position. But the retracement is ongoing due to the fact that now from this top, it's quite evident that we can have the beginning of a new yearly upward cycle. And I remind you that we cannot go back to the top for at least, if not more, 3 months. Okay, so that's the situation of Swiss Life, and we're going to conclude with the latest one, which is Swisscom. On Swisscom, the framing of the chart is a little bit tricky. It's a little bit tricky because from this top, where we had the beginning of the upward yearly T plus 5, we have potentially two closing. Either we have added the closing of the first T plus 5 upward cycle here after 230 bars at with the closing with the red bar on the 27th of March 2024, or we can also have the closing of this yearly upward cycle with this green candle made on the 30th of July 2024, because this is still encompassed in the minimum and the maximum duration, 313 days. So given that we have two possibilities, either here or here, to close this T plus 5, what can we do? So first of all, if we have the closing of this T plus 5 here, and here we have already a cycle that has been developed with a minimum of bars below the top from which it started, which are encompassed at 77 bars in the shape of a T plus 5, because the minimum of the bars below this top should be 48 at least, but we have 77. Here we have already a completed uh, shape of a T plus 5. And given that this candle broke up this top, what we can have now in this first option is to have the beginning of a potential T plus 3. And after this T plus 3 is completed, then a return back to the tops. Because now this T plus 5 is, given that was broken here, is binded to go to the uptrend or to further extend the rally until its minimum duration, which is 190 days. And in this case, we can proceed to rise the prices until at least 190 days, which is end of December. So that would be the first case. End of December, we can further extend the rally. What we can keep an eye peeled on is the strength of this downtrend, because at the moment, if we gauge the duration of this T plus 3, we have 47 bars. But from this low, we have the evidence that a new T plus 2 has been created. And this T plus 2 now, it's turned into a negative one, because thanks to this candle, we broke up this critical swing at 523 Swiss francs. And considering that now this T plus 2 is turned into the negative, we can further proceed to the downside until until the minimum duration of a T plus 2, which is 24 bars. So basically here the risk is to see the downtrend until 19th, 20th of August onwards. So now here we have to be really careful whether this will be the beginning of a new T plus 5, or either this it's the beginning of a T plus 5. Once this T plus 2 will be completed, then we will have to monitor the strength of the new cycle, downward cycle that will be created, which can be a T plus 4 considering the total duration, as we are now to a duration of 121 days. So by the 29th of August, 29th, 30th of August, we will be at 132 bars. So now the situation on the short term is definitely negative, but we need to further monitor the bounce back to the upside from the 20th of August in order to understand whether this is just a T plus 3, and therefore we will have a situation in which we can return back to the tops, or whether this will be the new T plus 5, and therefore we will continue to have a larger or a wider semicircle here to start the upward cycle. Okay, so at the moment, as for the others, the situation is negative, but we have such condition that it's not at the moment, it's not yet clear which of the two it is, and therefore we have to wait mid end of August to know a little bit more. But for the time being, the trend is definitely on the downside. So I hope this video has given you a lot of insights and information. Um, if you want to have all the video analysis notified, you can subscribe to our channel, and if you liked our videos, you can put a like, because it's always a pleasure to be recognized about the efforts that we put every day in such video analysis, given that they are challenging but at the same time time consuming. In any case, I thank you very much for watching the videos, and see you to the next episode.